Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes.
Can you give me a wave if you, oh dear, can you give me a wave if you can hear me? Okay. I'm quite happy to speak to you back there, but I'm used to sitting on a sofa and having people a little closer. So if you do want to come a little closer, I'm not going to sing and I'm not going to dance, and it's not a dramatic performance. So if you want to get closer so that you see the whites of my eyes, it might make it a bit more entertaining for you, a little bit more social for me. So, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. I'm here all weekend. Thank you. I've never had so many flowers in one day. So we're talking about sensitive questions. Who's got a sensitive question? Who's got a really difficult question? Who's got a challenging question? Who's got a microphone? Do we have two roving mics? We've got one there. We've got one on the other side. So on the aisle, you will see a sensitive question microphone holding person. Give them a wave. That's it, there they are. Okay. So, I'm not here to answer all your questions. That's not my job. I'm here to talk about the principle of answering sensitive questions. First of all, why do people ask questions in the first place? You may agree with some of these. You ask questions to get information about a subject. Which way is it to Nottingham venues? Which way is it to the University of Nottingham? Which way is it to Nottingham? What should I wear when I go? Are the beds comfortable? What's the food going to be like? I heard last year was spicy. Can you tell me how to be a devotee of Krishna? All these questions. To build personal, and in regard to our spiritual practices, to build your personal faith, you ask questions. I'm not sure about this issue. What do you have to say about that? I'm not sure I believe this. The claims seem to be quite large. It would involve a lot of personal changes in my life. What do you have to convince me that I should bring about these changes in my life? A faith issue. Worrying questions. You know, I'm interested in Hare Krishna, but I heard it's a cult. Is that true? I heard they eat children. I was standing in a shop in London and a Harinam party went by. I was inside the shop doing my usual thing, raising funds so that the electricity bill didn't get cut off. While others, let me tell you, others, not me, others were, singing and dancing down the street without a care in the world. Nice for them, not for me. I was in the shop trying to sell something to the owner. But there was two ladies in the shop, two old ladies. It was a wool shop. And they looked out and one said, "Oh, look at them. What do you think they're on?" She said, "Oh, don't go talking to them, Beryl." She said, "They go home, they've got a big house in the country." "Oh, they've got a big house in the country. They look poor." "You mean they're not poor?" "No, it's a cult. It's a cult, dear." "What do?" "Oh, they go Harry, Harry, Harry down the street. But when they go home, they walk on coals, on hot coals. That's what they do." "I think they're on drugs, Beryl." This was the conversation I was listening to all this. And people think all kinds of things. Especially in my day, in the 1970s. The newspapers, the magazines could print anything. So these days we have TV shows, we have radio, we have magazines, we have all different kinds of information being circulated. In India, a lot of times there was a movie came out, wasn't there? Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Damaro Dam. And for 20 years, people would think that either the the American boys and girls who came over to India to be devotees in India. They were from the CIA. Or that was one theory. And they also took drugs. That was another theory. And they said that the temple domes on the Bombay temple were actually missile silos. And inside the temple dome was a missile that was going to attack the Lok Sabha. Well, so people may have heard. So people have worrying questions. And I said this morning, people have needs, interests, concerns, and expectations. They want you to answer questions based on those things. So, here are some questions from others. Questions from others. You may answer questions from others to introduce them. Vaisheshika comes and gives us a talk on book distribution. It's helpful for us to know what to say first to someone. Person says, what's it all about? You may want to have something on the tip of your tongue. Well, Krishna consciousness is this. So that it sounds as if you're not flummoxed. Sounds as if you're not reaching for words, but you actually know what you're talking about. To address their concerns. To develop their interest and trust and faith. Or challenging questions. Get a job. Well, that used to work, didn't it? When people like me went out for selling books. These days, how many of you have got jobs? Put your hand up if you've got a job. Put your hand up higher if you don't need to go out begging for money on the street. There you go. We got any doctors in the audience? Accountants? Actuaries? No actuaries. It's a cheap weekend, isn't it? Should have put the price up for the actuaries. Engineers? Dentists? What do the rest of you do? Wait a minute. You're Indians, and you're not an engineer, you're not a doctor, you're not a dentist, or an accountant. What's left? What do you say? You do? IT, of course, yeah, that takes care of everything else, doesn't it? Yeah. Anybody work in a call center? No. Okay. This is why we don't ask questions, I think. This is why me and you and the rest of us don't ask questions. Because we don't want to give offense. Is that a common one? Anybody have that? I don't want to look stupid. Anybody in the room want to look stupid? No. None of us want to look stupid. The Chinese say, if you want to look stupid, ask a question. But if you want to be stupid for the rest of your life, never ask a question. No, I got it wrong. Ask a question and you'll look stupid for 1 hour. Don't ask the question and you'll be stupid for the rest of your life. That's what it was. We don't want to look doubtful. It's very important for us as people who are members of a community to say, I'm a devotee of Krishna and I have firm faith in everything that I've taught. I've been a devotee of Krishna since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And now I have no doubts whatsoever. Who has doubts in the philosophy? Who has doubts in the teachings? Go on, stick them up. I've got my magic laser beam here. Anyone who's not telling the truth, you get zapped. We have doubts, right? But how many of you who do have doubts want to share your doubts with someone else by asking a question? That's much less. Because if I appear doubtful, that makes me look weak. I don't ask a question. I don't want to be challenging, right? That would never do. And I don't want to seem controversial. Controversial means I'm really dying to ask a question about, I don't know. Where does all the money go in your movement? They used to arrest me about once a week. Once a week I'd get arrested for selling books. And we got hauled up before a judge one time in Blackburn. Do you know Blackburn? Anybody from Blackburn? Blackburn is up north. And the judge said, well, I'll let you go this time. He said, but I just want to tell you something. Come closer to the bench. So I went up to the judge, magistrate. And he said, look, just between me and you, you're good people, but there's someone at the top of your movement getting all the money, smoking a big fat cigar, driving a big car. He said, now be on your way. I've never met the person at the top of the movement smoking a big cigar, driving a Rolls Royce. Or we delay the question. I won't ask the question now because it's too public. I won't put my hand up in front of 500 people. I won't put my hand up in front of 30 people. But the question's going to be answered later. I don't know when, and I don't know by who. Sometimes the answer will come, sometimes it won't. So here's the sensitive questions. Drum roll, please. That's it. That's it. Very good. Are you ready? Okay. Sensitive questions fall into these categories. Philosophy. Philosophy. It's the ideas that we accept to be true, that guide our life, guide our perspective. The practices. What happens when you shave your head? Why do you shave your heads? Why do you shave your heads? Okay. We look the same all the way around the world, but we go to different places and people have different questions. We go to Northern Ireland. They'd always ask the same question. What religion are you? And I would always answer, well, I'm a Hare Krishna. And they would always say, Hare Krishna, what's that? Are you a Catholic Hare Krishna or a Protestant Hare Krishna? Then I went to Africa, dressed like this. People would come up to me on the street and they'd go, excuse me, what tribe are you from? I go to India and they say, are you Hare Ram, Hare Krishna? And I would say, well, not personally, but... And I'd be on a train in India and they'd go, you are English, why are you dressed like this? And the man was wearing a suit and I'd say, you're Indian, why are you dressed like this? So, the movement. Yes, well, I think what we can say is we are perfection of what the Chinese would call interesting times. Trying to transplant a movement from east to west, as Srila Prabhupada did, with people who may or may not understand it, has been fraught with some difficulty. Since Prabhupada passed away, there have been ups, and there have also been not so ups. We've gone through a colourful period. Hopefully that is behind us, but who knows? The propensity for human beings to not get on, the propensity for human beings to disappoint others, that will perhaps be always with us. We have to be very, very vigilant. So here's some, here we have, these areas. Texts and translations, that's been a popular one over the years. Do you believe Prabhupada translated the English versions properly? Do you believe that when devotees take the English translations of Srila Prabhupada and put them into Swahili or into Russian or in Italian, they're bona fide? Do you believe that the revised editions of Srila Prabhupada's books post-1978 are authentic and trustworthy? This has been an area of dispute. Authority and tradition. Yes, we have spiritual leadership. Do you trust it? How much do you trust it? Who can I trust? Who can I put my faith in? It's a big one for everybody because between the texts and the authority, that's the package, isn't it? Then we go on to other things. The trustworthiness of fellow members. I joined a small Hare Krishna group. I tried to get involved. I felt judged. They didn't like me. I felt I couldn't get on with these people. Is that wrong? People ask that question. It's a question. That was a rhetorical question. Rhetorical means that I'm just... Conflicts in a group. How many groups do we have? We have hundreds of groups. How many groups are there that there are conflicts in, where people don't get on? Every single one. How many of you are in families? Put your hand up if you're a member of a family. It's a catch question, isn't it? And how many of you have ever had an argument between members of the family? I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. Always, isn't it? Human beings have a propensity not to live in peace with each other. And so when they get together for spiritual purposes, every single person in the group will think differently, speak differently, act differently, practice differently, have a different level of faith, have a different guru, a different translation, will want to do something different. One person will want to, if they're from India and they join a group in Wembley, they will want a 60-foot tall white marble temple. Another person, if they're from somewhere else, they will want to establish a library. Another person will want to do something else. So many different opinions. Okay. Okay, I'm going to come down now because I can see it better. So here are actual questions from real people who've been asked. And what I do, you may have seen my book that I wrote called Sanatan Dharma, available in the foyer. Here are some real questions. Stick your hand up, or maybe you could go, if you've ever heard this question before. I like the idea of Krishna, but what happens if there's no God at all, ultimately? Oh, that's a long om, isn't it? I like the idea, but I'm troubled at the idea of a God who would place an innocent child into a painful or violent situations. Classic question. Why do bad things happen to good people? Is that an It is a good one, isn't it? These are questions that you will ask yourself. It's also questions that people will come to you and ask. Okay? Give me an answer, Mr. Krishna man. Why should I accept Krishna as God when there's many other images and understandings of God? What makes you so special? What makes you the best? Why should I not be, fill in the dotted line? We just go rush through these. Krishna had meant this is a question from a young man who was being asked to become a brahmachari in a temple, to wear the orange cloth. Do we have a brahmachari in the audience? One. Common question. Krishna had many girlfriends but doesn't want me to have even one. That does not seem fair. I like much of the philosophy, but I don't like the idea of surrender. Why the big push towards this idea? I'm a Hindu. Why does ISKCON denigrate other gods and insist only worship of Krishna? Heard that one before? Yeah. Oh, that's a big isn't it? Okay. Why are there so many small rules and regulations? Philosophy is good, but the practice is very nitpicky. What if I can't follow everything? Okay, it's a very common one. There is no one like Srila Prabhupada now, and therefore I do not feel inspired. In other words, it's not my problem. Oh, here's an interesting one. Obviously, this is a person who's been to the temple and he's heard something from maybe a rather enthusiastic monk. Maybe he's gone on be a monk course or something, and he's heard something. I don't see celibacy as an option, and neither do I think it should be so important that you can't join the movement unless you agree to be celibate, whether single or married. Well, I think this question was from a few years ago. I think now we might not get such a question. Okay, let's choose one out of here. Oh, hey, here's a controversial one. Souls are equal, but not when it comes to leadership within the movement, it seems. Eh? Have you heard that one before? Eh? Yes. Okay. I was with a lady who was everybody's heard of Microsoft Corporation. She's the vice president of Microsoft in America. and she just became a devotee. So she was asking me questions like that. And why not? She's a vice president of a large corporation, hundreds of people under her. This one is from a few years ago. I'm not quite sure we'd get it now. Why is the movement so small? Have you heard that one? No, that's not really a contemporary question, isn't it? Huh? Who has ever been charged with being a member of a cult? It's a word that you may not hear too much. There's a smattering of a few people. Yeah. We used to get it a lot more. Maybe in America we get it. Do we get it in America still? Still in America. Okay. We're still running on our old reputation. What about this? There's a real question. The movement should be about sacrifice, service, and living simply. Now it seems to be all about money. I'm always being asked for donations. At the temple, buying books on the street, even attending classes, which, hands on hips, which used to be free. Where's the School of Bhakti director? Hey, where's the School of Bhakti? Transcendental knowledge freely given? I don't think so. Everything comes at a price at Bhaktivedanta Manor. People are complaining. Okay, the movement. Oh, this is one that you'll hear. There's a lot of discrimination in ISKCON. They treat wealthy people favorably and disregard the poorer people. How do you explain this? Ooh. Very interesting. The leaders of the movement, the GBC, are in a position for a lifetime. If they do something wrong, they're not removed, and this seems like an old boy network. So you've heard it, have you? I thought it was just me. I thought I was the only one that was privy to these controversial discussions, but it seems it's leaked out into the hoi polloi. What else have we got? Why are all the ISKCON temples full of Indians? Are only Indian people allowed in ISKCON? Now, how do you feel about that? Some of you didn't go, you went, how dare they? These white people should be so grateful to us. Okay, so now I want you to add to the selection of questions. I want you to throw another few questions at me, and we will try to look at the range of things that people ask. Yes, go ahead. We won't answer them as such. We'll go on to the next section. What's the time? 12:30. Okay. Yeah. Quick as you can.
Hare Krishna. Chanakya Pandit said there are 3 things you can beat: a drum, a dog, and a woman. So I'm wondering why such a person who makes such a type of statement is allowed to speak in the Bhagavatam and give directions for us to be followed. So whenever I read Chanakya Pandit said, I just close my eyes and I say, I don't care what you say.
Yes. Yes, me too. Me too. The thing you got to understand, all right, I should answer. The thing you got to understand is about Chanakya Pandit. He was hired by a king, Chandragupta, for a certain purpose. He was not married. In fact, his complexion was a bit of a disaster. And no woman would marry him. He was a Brahmin. But he stubbed his toe on some kusha grass and came back the next day to kill the kusha grass with milk. One of the spies of the king was hiding in the bush, and he said, this is the type of Brahmin we want. This is the type of person who would work well with the Kshatriya king, be a good counsel. So Chanakya Pandit was ruthless, but his job sometimes was to entertain the king. Because the Brahmins close to the king, they had to take his mind off the stresses and strains of being a king. Unfortunately, their comments to the king in a private discussion don't translate well for guidance for the rest of society. So when you see a Chanakya Pandit said, just, you can move past it and you can understand that maybe something funny, maybe something relevant to a particular occasion, and Prabhupada may use it and go to what Srila Vyasadeva said instead. Is that okay? All right. Quick answer. Yes. Mike? Not that your name is Mike, but...
This is a question which my daughter asked. She's been with ISKCON for some time, and she's a teenager.
Yeah.
On Instagram, she's seen that, ISKCON don't treat women very well.
Don't eat women very well?
No, don't treat.
Don't treat women.
Treat women very well.
Yeah.
In the sense that when you read Prabhupada literature, also, you see that women are classified as less intelligent, and there have been comments like that.
Yeah.
So how do I go back and explain to my daughter that that's not the case, that at her soul everyone is equal?
Is your daughter a student?
She's a student, yeah.
What's she do?
She is studying to become an anthropologist.
Anthropologist?
Yeah.
She's intelligent?
She's intelligent, yes.
Therefore?
She's intelligent.
She's an intelligent. She should have no
yeah.
problem. Are you married?
Yes.
Your wife is here?
No.
Is your wife less intelligent?
No, she's intelligent as well. She's very intelligent.
She's very intelligent. What does she do?
She's a housewife, but very intelligent.
Very intelligent.
Yeah.
It's it's a statement that appears in the early part of Bhagavad Gita, I believe, in one purport. Prabhupada makes that comment. And it's a comment which has, created ire in a whole generation of women. The only real reason we can deal with that is that women should be raised to a position of management and leadership within our ISKCON movement. But what has happened since those days is that ISKCON has moved from being a very small community made up of usually single men, single women, to a movement which is mostly married couples, mostly families. If you look around the room here, you'll see a lot of gentlemen who treat their wives very nicely. And therefore, when you read things, you're often reading about something that was an attitude or a prevailing set of attitudes from 20 or 30 years back. And sometimes the strains of being a single celibate male in a culture which doesn't offer support to that way of life made it that certain things would come out of the mouths of these young men. Sometimes it's like that. But we don't find the same level of criticism today. But on Instagram she saw it. So she would have to find out where the source of that comment came from.
I don't know where she saw it, but she mentioned it to me.
Just like there used to be one statement that, people in ISKCON don't stay married for long. Have you heard that one? You heard that one? Who's heard that one? Give me a little. What happened with all the divorce in ISKCON? Okay, people say that. Well, those statistics, I am sure, came from about 30 years ago. But things do not change. They say if a scientist discovers something today as a truth, it will only get into the primary school education system 30 years later. So we're always catching up on old information. You understand? So we're still dealing, in India, we're still dealing with the fact that America was sending people from the CIA dressed as Hare Krishna monks. Of course, now the head of the CIA is a person who chants Hare Krishna and plays the ukulele, but that's something else. Okay, another one.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, your right side.
Give me a wave, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. So I was...
Are you from Belfast?
Yeah.
You're Hare Krishna?
Yes.
You're Catholic Hare Krishna, Protestant Hare Krishna?
Srila Prabhupada's Hare Krishna.
Is your wife less intelligent than you or more intelligent?
Definitely more.
Definitely more intelligent. Therefore, I say that the Hare Krishna movement has changed. Yes.
My question is something related to the question which I saw in the slides.
Yeah.
Because when we do all the admin work in the temple,
Yeah.
we officially say, in all the government things, ISKCON is falling under the Hindu category.
Yeah.
But again, we hear different opinions from different senior devotees. So just wanted to get more understanding. Does it fall into that Sanatana Dharma Hindu bracket or?
Oh yeah, good question. This is the old question of, is ISKCON Sanatana Dharma or is Hindu? I think you all know the reason behind the term Hindu. That the Persians came in the river Indus and everything on the other side became Hindustan, and then the British came and called the practices and the culture of the people who were living in Hindustan Hinduism, because that's an Anglo-Saxon suffix. And then the language, when my forebears were there in India, my grandfather was in India. He was part of the British Raj. And if he could see me now, I think he would get a shock. He was there in his uniform and his handlebar moustache in Allahabad. And he was learning a language called Hindustani. Now there is no one says Hindustani anymore. So Hindi. But the religion of the people who practice in the land of Hindustan, it's still known as Hindu. And that's been there for 400 years. So now everyone understands what we're talking about. But the word Hindu, of course, is a Muslim word. And it's a geographical term. So it's whether you want to be labeled by the Islamic people who came, that forever you should be known as Hindus. But now something is changing within India, maybe because of the RSS, maybe because of the BJP. But India is moving towards being called Bharat.
Yes.
Okay? And the religion is moving away from Hinduism, which means many things to many people, to Sanatana Dharma. Okay? Even the academics are acknowledging that. So, if someone says, "Are you Hindu?" on occasions I will say yes, if a politician asks, or someone who's an academic asks, yes, of course, Hindu, because that's the commonly accepted term. But I prefer Sanatana Dharma. Prefer Sanatana Dharma. Good question.
Yeah.
We only have a few minutes left.
Yeah, I can go ahead. Yeah. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Where are you?
Here, front.
Here, when you say here, I don't know where you are. I hear the sound coming from back there.
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have one question like on faith or doubt, you can say.
Yeah.
Like once we grow in Krishna consciousness or in bhakti, right? Sometimes very challenging times come, in material world. Then it's go a little bit up or down, what's happening to me. Until we are like, as Rup Goswami mentioned, anabhilasa sunnitam. Like, but any desire other than Krishna is, not a pure bhakti. But still, sometimes those challenges come. So how we can come over that and make that bhakti is separate and your materialist is separate, like water and milk. We mix, then no taste. But we know the taste, but still we get into trap again.
Yes. Well, I think the question is, as we say in England, don't beat yourself up. Sometimes we can make a rod for our own back, because perfection is a very high goal that we're all striving for. If you're judged by other people, that's not comfortable for you. If you're judged by yourself, sometimes we can be a very harsh judge of ourselves. So sometimes we need to say, this is me, this is what I can do, this is where I would like to be, which is just ahead, and this is how I propose to get there. Without measuring yourself up to others or constantly, reducing yourself in your own perspective, because that will lead to depression and disappointment and all kinds of negative emotions. And bhakti is meant to be made up of positive emotions. And the title of the film is The Joy of Devotion, not the joy of being judged. The joy of joining a bhakti community and being depressed because you're not perfect. We don't want that. So these are some questions. And the reason why we highlight these questions is so that you can discuss them amongst yourselves and to know that it's okay to do that. And that's part of unfolding yourself. Because unless you do that, it will be very difficult to address the concerns of others. So there has to be somewhere for those thoughts to go. And it's good if you talk amongst yourselves and then raise those issues up with others so that they get satisfactorily answered. Believe me, I've carried questions in myself occasionally for weeks, and someone always comes and I put that question to them, and it always requires a little bit of, in spiritual life, anything that you do in spiritual life, there's a fear in taking the next step, because the fear in asking a difficult question might be, I'll expose myself, I'll increase my doubt, my faith will drop, I'll look stupid, they'll think I'm challenging them, I'll be too controversial, you see. Well, the gap between you having that question and answering the question is fearful, but it needs to be spanned by courage. Courage needs to be there, which means that the fear doesn't go away, but you feel encouraged to move forward. Because while you still have that doubt, you can't move forward, you see. And while you still have that doubt, you can't speak to anybody else who asks you that question, you see. And for us all to move forward as a movement, we need to be able to say, oh no, I heard the answer to that only last week. Now let me tell you. So our groups, there's two ways that you can run a small group of Krishna Bhaktas. One is that you sit there and you never ask any questions, and you nod your head and you say yes to everything, and you bow down and you have prasad and you go home. But that's not really dynamic. Dynamic means that every member of the group moves forward because they've asked questions and they've got satisfying answers. That's the way that it was done between Krishna and Arjuna. Difficult questions, challenging questions. That's the way that it was done between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami. Difficult questions, challenging answers. We need to be challenged in our life. We reached the time? What is the time? 8 minutes left. Okay, one from you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Oh,
Thank you
dear.
very much.
I better sit down for this one. He knows all the temple gossip.
On the point of nice, needs, interests, concerns, expectations, many of us are devotees who very often have to answer questions. And it's a really good guide for us to consider NICE. But how much can we stretch that in terms of, many times the philosophy is quite straightforward. If we're trying to tailor every answer to individuals, how do we always basically not adulterate the philosophy or the real message, and always try to facilitate the others, the person asking the questions, expectations or needs and stuff like that. Just to give an example, if someone goes through, maybe not the best example, but if someone goes through a bereavement in the family, you don't say, don't worry, you're not, it's not the body. The body is dull matter anyway. You're the soul, or the person who passed away is the soul. We don't say that. We try to give them more of, solace and, just pacify.
Yes. There was a man who was going away on holiday, and he wanted his neighbor to look after his mother while he was gone. She was an old lady. And he also wanted the neighbor to look after his cat. So he said, please, will you do that? You're a good neighbor. I need to get away for 2 weeks. I've been looking after my mother, looking after the cat. I have so much to do. He went away for 2 weeks. He came back and he said, everything been all right? He said, yes, fine. He said, how's the cat? He said, the cat's dead. He asked a question, he got a simple answer. He said, why did you tell, what happened? He said, I died. Fell off the roof and died. He said, that's not the way to answer a question. I know I asked a direct question, but you should have placated me, you should have cushioned it for me. You should have said something like, the cat was on the roof enjoying the sunshine, cat rolled forward, fell off the roof, was happy enough until it hit the ground. Cats have 9 lives. I guess this must have been his 9th life. Doctor tried everything to save him, but he passed away gently, surrounded by loving veterinary surgeons. He said, that's the way you should have answered this sensitive question. He said, anyway, how's my mother? He said, well, she was up on the roof the other day. You have to be, they say that there's 4 relationships in life that you should have with people, and the discussion should be very straightforward. One is your doctor. You have to tell your doctor the truth, and the doctor has to tell you the truth. You're supposed to ask questions, and he's supposed to give you straight answers. How am I doing, Doc? Well, your accountant, your lawyer, and your priest. They're the ones who give you straight answers to straight questions. But each of them, in this particular relationship, they depend on you for honesty. You depend on them for honesty. But there still is a professional way of dealing with a person's emotions. You have to deal with a person's emotions. And like my father was a policeman. And sometimes you have to go to the door and you have to break the news to someone that their son has been killed in a motorbike accident. Well, you don't just knock on the door and say, can we sit down, please? Or, you may like to sit down for this. I've got some distressing news. And of course, they almost immediately, but you make arrangements. Or, Mr. Johnson, we did notice a shadow on your lung. It's just a little spot. We will have to deal with it. You go around, but you don't mention the C word. You know what the C word is? Cancer. Yeah, cancer. You never say that word as a doctor. We've got a doctor here? Do you say that word, or do you just go around it a little bit?
No, I say it.
You say it.
Go around and then say it.
You go around and then you say it. Yeah. Because the patient deserves to know the truth. But allow them a little period where they're learning what is the truth, and they're gradually accommodating it, and they're thinking to themselves, okay, here it comes. Bad news. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Cancer. You've got to say it. It's a horrible word. But eventually, the doctor has to tell the truth. Similarly, the priest, priest may placate someone by saying, she went on to glory. There's many different euphemistic ways that we say it. She's in a better place. We do as devotees, but at the same time, truth is there, but we cushion that truth because it's difficult to bear. Or an accountant. Accountant has to be very truthful with you. But he will say, or she will say, Mr. Johnson, your accounts have been better. We're not quite there yet, or we're not quite in a good place. Do you go on holiday? Do you go on holiday regularly? You may think of staying home this year. So it's a way of speaking that eventually gets you to the point. So we don't compromise on truth, but it's just you may want to take a person's mentality. You have to take the mind into consideration. You have to use language that brings them gently along a path. That may not be the perfect answer, by the way. This was not a session called Perfect Answers, Perfect Questions. This is just, we have many ways, but eventually we're trying to get to the point where a person moves forward in their life. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
His Grace Kripamoya Prabhu ki jai.